Hey guys, welcome back, and this is going to be part 2 of the accessory series. And this next lift I'm going to talk about is going to be the overhead press, specifically the standing barbell press. So as long as your form is correct and that you know how to overload just like you would with the other 3 main lifts, being the bench press, the deadlift, and squat, then with the overhead press, you want to do the same thing, same volume, same intensity, same programming. Now, when it comes to accessory work, there are a few options and a few routes you can go, and really it comes down to making sure that you're addressing the entire shoulder. So if you're doing the standing barbell press correctly, you're off to a great start. It is going to be a little bit more towards anterior and medial or lateral head dominant. But if you're doing it correctly, you will address and at least get started with the posterior head of your deltoid. Now, when it comes to programming other exercises, a few popular options are going to be things like a dumbbell press, whether seated or standing. Of course, I like doing things standing, but at that point, once you get your main lift done, if you want to go ahead and take a seat and prop up some dumbbells to be able to do a press, that's fine. Or you could do something like a shrug. Shrugs are great. Now, if you do them, I'm going to suggest that you go for a dumbbell version or a kettlebell version, just because you can do it with a neutral grip and have the arms out to the sides, as opposed to a barbell, which will have to be in front of your body. And at that point, if you're going even remotely heavy on them, it's going to pull your shoulders forward and it just puts you at risk. So especially if you're using it as a secondary mover, I would say go ahead, go to dumbbells, go to kettlebells, things like that for shrugs. You can use a trap bar if you like, but that'll really hammer out the medial head quite well. And you could go either way. So if you want to do a dumbbell press, you can go that way. If you want to go to shrugs, you can go that way as well. And then after that, a part of the deltoid that gets neglected way too much is the posterior head. Now, I would suggest that you do something like a face pull or a high row, whether with dumbbells or barbell. That'll get it that'll hit it very well, because at that point you're still using a compound movement. But you could do a reverse fly. I would suggest not going with that unless you absolutely have to do it. And of course, no one has to do it, but some people really like that exercise. I just prefer that you use a compound, one that involves elbow flexion, so you can get a better retraction, but also you'll get better activation of the actual posterior head of your deltoid. So I would say go with something like a face pull or a high row or anything similar. Now, for me, I like to do some Olympic lifting for that. I will do a clean high pull. I'll do a snatch high pull. And then in terms of my own programming, I will use something like a snatch push press. Now, I will put in a snatch press. Not everybody has the mobility for that. So for conventional lifters, don't even worry about doing the Olympic lifts as accessories. I like to do them because I personally like doing the Olympic lifts, and especially when I do a program that's centered around the snatch and the clean and jerk. Those are very important for me. So don't think like you have to do them, but I found that they work quite well. They're explosive. You can work on power, which will translate to the overhead press. But for most people, just work your way front to back, get your barbell press done, and then do an exercise, maybe 2 for the medial head, and then make sure you're getting the posterior head sufficiently. So that's the overhead press. All right, guys, remember, adopt, don't shop.